I think it's about time I did a coaching video. So I had a very popular video on the driver and putting your sternum in a certain place to promote a certain shot. By all means, go and check that one out. The concept was that if my sternum is over this side of the golf ball, I've got this access into the ball. If I get my sternum over this side of the golf ball, I've got different access to the ball and it promotes different flights. But as many of you said in the comments, what do I do with the rest of the clubs in the bag? What do I do with my wedges? What do I do with my irons? Now with a driver, because I put my sternum over this side of the golf ball, I come down to this point and then I go up to that ball there when it's teed up. But when the ball's on the floor, I don't want to come down to this point on the floor and come up to the golf ball and top it or thin it. So when I have my wedges in my hand, I get my sternum going to the left side of the cover of the ball, just to encourage a downward blow on it, because with a wedge, I want to hit down on it a little bit to encourage more backspin and more control into the green. Now I don't want to go too far, I don't want to go right over here because I'm going to struggle with thin shots there and shots that go a little bit too low. I do want to bottom out so I can get through the golf ball still. So as I'm looking at the ball on the floor, I'm trying to point my chest to this side of the cover. So I get my sternum here, I get it going just left side of the cover. That'll encourage a slightly downward blow. And I can get more spin, more strike, more consistency with that shot. And I would do that with my wedges up to my 9-iron. 8, 7, 6, 5-iron, I want to get my sternum going at the golf ball so I can bottom out and get through that area. If I have my sternum to the side, it's going to cause problems either way. And as a concept in any golf swing, in any golf mechanic, in anyone else's idea that's not mine, if you imagine this in terms of consistency, if I have my sternum here and I rotate back, I get back to that same point. If I have my sternum over here, I rotate and I rotate back to that point. So I get to a different point on the floor based on how I set up. And this is just generally good information to know about because you might not quite be able to control your sternum just yet, but you need to know it for future when you can. If you slide back to front or you move your body around quite a lot, it's going to be hard to get back to the same spot on the ball. If I slide back here and I don't move, I hit the ground early. If I slide back here and I slide back to the ball, I get back to the ball very nicely, but I have to get my slide just right to make that work. If I slide back and then I slide over too much, I've got my sternum over this side of the ball, I hit it thin, I top it and I bottom out there. So moving too much laterally is not a good idea in general for consistency, but it might give you power. So the more I can wind up and get back into that ball and do that motion faster, the more consistent the ball striking will be. And there's a few ideas out there in terms of like force plates and transferring weight and stuff. If I get back here and I go into my left side and then I have to jump out of it, I've got to get all of those movements back to the same spot to get a clean strike. I might get it to work on a good day, but on a bad day, is that as reliable? However, my sternum is straight at the golf ball with 8, 7, 6, maybe 5-iron. Sternum at the golf ball, I'm trying to spin on the spot to get through that golf ball and miss the green left. But you get the idea. The strike was nice and clean, I got through it really well, I just didn't pay attention to where I aimed. So I'm not going to give myself a hard time over that shot whatsoever. And then I go up into my 4-iron or maybe a hybrid in that sort of area of the bag. And I'm trying to get my sternum to point just on this side of the cover. I'm trying to get it at this edge. So I have my sternum pointing here, I have it just right of the golf ball and I try and stay there as long as I can. And striking is a lot easier because the club can get through the turf a lot easier. If I get my chest over this way, I might get down on the ball too much, get stuck and get bouncy, which is not ideal at all. If I get my sternum too far back, the ball is on the floor, so I'm going to hit this bit of the ground and go up, and I'm going to hit funny shots. I'm going to hit the ground a little bit early and hit some funny things like that. I have to manipulate a lot of things to get that set up back to the golf ball. So if I set up on the right side of the cover, I've got more chance of success. Not guaranteed. And then, like we said before, sternum, right of the golf ball, I'm going to swing through this point to get that ball drawing. I've done that a little bit too much, but I'm just exaggerating the idea. But you see there's a progression of where you put your sternum through the golf bag to get the most out of every club. I'm specifically trying to place my body in the right place to get the most success from the shot. If I'm trying to play more of a fade, I might play around with it. If I get my chest just left of the golf ball with a driver, I'm more likely to hit down on it a little bit more and squeeze out that little bit of fade. Good example. But see how that ball's moved that way? I've got a little bit more spin. It hasn't quite gone as far as normal because I'm getting downward on the ball. That was 2.5 degrees down with more spin than I'm used to. It's not a bad shot, but if you're trying to get away from that, jump on my other video that will be in a box somewhere around here.